Hello, y'all. Welcome to the first scripted episode of Hard Fetish Fashions with Katara Speaks. That sounds quite professional. I feel like an announcer at a circus or a premiere of a pilot. Based on that little bit. What do you think this episode will be about? And how would I deliver the rest of this? I give you a hint. The title of this episode is called Effects of Expectations. Now, get ready for hopefully the first and only rendition of this trip. The other day, I literally laid on the floor, wanting to melt into the carpet like a blob, with no worries or responsibilities. That day, the norm was too much to cook, eat, or clean, so working was definitely not an option. That meant I had zero energy to be social. Thankfully, after laying on the carpet for 30 minutes, I felt better, recharged. Things felt so much simpler on the floor. Somehow, the feeling of overwhelm dissipated. All the puzzle pieces came together as I let my mind roam. It was refreshing, something I didn't know I needed. I was so used to pushing myself to burnout, to be productive, to constantly do something, anything, that doing the exact opposite was uncomfortable at first. It was like I let go of expectations for a moment, and it felt nice. It reminded me of the time when I was at the beach, floating in the water, looking at the clouds as they passed by in the light blue sky, as if time slowed down just for me. And if I didn't move, I could pause expectations for a little bit longer. So, let's talk about the effects of expectations in my life, as this podcast has become a bit of a documentary on my past and present. Where should I begin? Anywhere, I suppose. Let's define expectations first and foremost. To me, expectations is the assumption and anticipation that something or someone should be a certain way. And in my experience, if expectations were unmet, disappointment usually followed. Story time. Once upon a time, not long ago, I used to have peers who would tell me that I was doing too much or aiming too high. The ironic thing was, I believed them. I stopped doing a lot of things so I can keep these people as my friends. After taking away all the things that brought me joy, my life felt like just heartbeats. I felt numb. I didn't have a reason to keep going besides for my family. Even then, I felt resentment towards them because I believed their love was superficial, as if they only loved me when I was doing great academically, as if it was an expectations to be nothing but the best. Anything less meant I was a failure and no longer deemed worthy of being considered family. It was a lot of pressure, especially since my accomplishments were seen as normal, as if they were obligations, that any extra efforts to impress my relatives were never enough. And when I was celebrated, I felt that love could be taken away at any moment. Want to know my emotional logic? Drop out of college to see if my family's love was conditional. But the thing was, I didn't want to confirm my fears. I didn't want to be disowned because of my decision. I wanted to prolong what seemed to be inevitable, learning the fact that their love was superficial. After I got my bachelor degree, however, my family told me that they wanted me to get the degree so I would never have to struggle financially like they did. Their words felt like a punch in the stomach. I was so shocked and relieved. They wanted the best for me in their own way. They actually loved me. Then, I found the courage to tell them that I was going to be successful regardless, that I am now choosing my own path going forward. Expectations of others and from ourselves can be so heavy. that they affect us on a multitude of levels mentally, emotionally, physically, financially, and spiritually. I used to allow a lot of people's opinions, especially those I consider close friends and mentors, influence me to be just enough, not too much. The thing is, I say influence because I was seeking their validation, permission, love, and approval. I played a role in dimming my own light, my spark, and I felt stuck. The constant push and pull trying to meet my peers and my family's expectations became overwhelming. So much, in fact, I adopted those expectations as if they were my own, replaying in my mind even though I'm a grown adult, able to make my own decisions. Then it dawned on me. I get to make my own decisions. So I decided to start doing things that brought me joy again. Started dreaming, planning, and taking action. Started to recognize myself in the mirror, not as a stranger, but me, truly me. Practice self love and acceptance for who I was, who I am, and who I will become. Worth, after all, is something to be recognized, not earned. I am worthy of joy, peace, and unconditional love. Unconditional love is not unconditional tolerance. Boundaries is a form of self love. My therapist once told me that love is to be freely given, not earned or weaponized. Keep in mind, we may have different definitions of what love is and what it means to us. We usually give and receive love the best way we know how, relative to our capacity, energy, perceptions, and experience. Nonetheless, we are worthy of wholesome love and all of our heart's desires. Let's take a breather. Let that marinate for a second. As we take an intermission, I gotta say, I didn't realize I went on two separate tangents in the outline. I had to rearrange the parts to make them fit into this episode. I didn't want to erase what I had. Somehow, I am now writing a whole script. That is why my words are coming out more eloquently than before. I feel like I'm in school writing an essay or something. Now, this is coming out as a stream of consciousness. I am proud of what this is becoming. Alright, was that enough time to process the previous segment? Are you ready for the next rabbit hole? Yes, no, maybe so. Listen, pause, or rewind accordingly. Another slice of my life. I had a tendency to not invite friends. Emphasis on not to invite friends and family to any of my events. The logic was, if I didn't expect them to show up, I would not be disappointed. In a way, I felt free to be myself at these events because I didn't feel self conscious of what others thought I should be. It felt good to be surrounded by those who were passionate in similar interests, especially when performing on stage. And that's honestly how I feel now as I speak on this podcast, since I barely told my friends and family that I have a podcast in the first place. It's almost like I'm giving myself permission to share my thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and experiences in an uncensored way. I guess that's why I rarely shared this podcast on social media. I wanted that moment of pause because I felt that those who followed me on these platforms already labeled me. And I didn't want to be squished into the box of my previous impressions and others' perceptions of me. I wanted a break from society, but also getting to know myself again. Since the feelings, thoughts, and experiences I shared on this podcast were things I didn't want to acknowledge even existed, with the false assumption that if I did not acknowledge their existence, I never felt, thought, believed, or been through any of them. The habit of ignoring my past and present led me to feeling numb, constantly wanting to experience the next best thing, but not able to really enjoy it because my mind was escaping into the future. It was aggravating, not truly being able to appreciate the moment and everything I've been through. So I decided to give myself a safe haven through this podcast with all the filler words, emotions, and technical difficulties. As I mentioned before, this episode is actually the first one I'm writing a script for because I had so much I wanted to say, and I did not want to forget in the middle of me rambling. This is a more coherent speech, I suppose. However, it feels like I'm speaking directly to you, as if I'm on the phone and you are listening to me as I pour my heart out. Thank you. I really do appreciate you listening. It means a lot to me, as you are hearing me express myself authentically, growing on this journey of self love and realizing that I really am worthy regardless, that I don't need other people's validations, permission, love, and approval in order to love me, be happy and at peace. You guys are on this journey with me, and I hope that by sharing a slice of my life, y'all feel less alone. Perhaps be inspired to live the life you choose and desire, emotions and all. Well, in order for that to happen, you had to know this podcast even exists, huh? I suppose that means it's about time to share this with the world. 2.5 seasons in. I'm ready. I'm ready to share my journey with y'all. Outros are meant to wrap up the episode with a conclusive bow. No new information. Or I could have just dropped the mic at the last segment and leave it at that. Am I going to do either of those? No. Though I would try to be quick. Who am I kidding? I'm not sure how long this point would take. I'm not even sure how long this trip actually is spoken aloud. Anyways, of course, there are effects of expectations from others and from ourselves. Though it seems that expectations are inevitable, the assumptions or anticipation of something or someone being a certain way doesn't mean it's a bad thing per se. Sometimes expectations can be informative, a way to predict how people may behave, feel, and perceive the world, even if these perceptions may not be accurate. Other times, expectations help life unfold the way we choose, whether it is a vacation, a promotion, a house, car, or lifestyle. But those in academics, it may be a test score, grade, acceptance letter, or performance. To put it simply, expectations affect us whether positively or negatively. It's okay to acknowledge both, and it's normal to have expectations. With all that being said, and all that I shared, I hope you found value in this episode. If you want, you can listen to this again, share it with others, or just reflect on what you heard. Whatever you choose is up to you. Leaving a review, answering the episode question, or following the podcast are optional as well, with many episodes before this and many more to come. Until next time, I see you soon.